kind of day, but I am kind of sing-songy. The first question today is, do you feel like you don't have time to market? Right? Do you? Because the questions we're going to answer, basically Rena's going to answer, is how do you properly do your marketing, and how do you make a marketing schedule? So I don't know if you all know, but Rena and I meet before we go on. We discuss what we're going to talk about. Oh, if you don't know me, I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and this is Rena,
Rena, Rena Little from Little Works Indie Media in
right?
Vancouver.
And every Thursday, as you all know, we get on here, we talk about something to do with marketing, and it's time to get your marketing under control because the new year's right around the corner. So, perfect opportunity, right?
Yeah, this is the time.
So when we got into this, Rena, on Tuesday, we talked. You talked about training wheels stage, and I'm gonna let you explain that. But when I talk about four quadrants, and the four quadrants of what kind of marketer are you? Are you a marketer with no time and no money, or are you a marketer with time and money, or are you a marketer with time and no money, or are you a marketer with uh, no money
No,
and time, right?
did we
Um,
manage to get through all those variations?
right. There's four, and the reality is, as marketers, I think we all prefer to work with those who have no time and money, right? But the people who don't have money but have time are in training wheel stage, right?
Yeah, that's what I call it. So basically, you need to do something to get the clients in the door. And then generally, the first step is you're working with word of mouth. So you're networking, your clients are saying good things about you. And that's generally how you're getting your first bunch of clients in the door. And you certainly always want to be organized for word of mouth marketing. Don't ever give that up. But at some point, you're going to want to start adding new things. For example, new content on your website usually comes up pretty early on. And then the ideas around social media marketing usually comes up because everybody knows that they can have access to those accounts with very little technical training and be able to get their message out in front of people. But it is considered training wheel because the way that the algorithms work, if you haven't actually watched the algorithm video, go hop on that and make sure you get up on that because they're all different on all platforms. But generally speaking, you can only market in those spaces to your audience and only a portion of your audience usually. And then they do have every platform generally has a way of getting outside of those audience. So that could be when other people share to their profiles your stuff, or by using hashtags. Those are two ways of getting outside of your audience. And
Yes.
then the third way is when you finally have money, and that's when you're going to start to actually market properly, like do ads.
Right.
And ads is the most efficient way of organizing. Um, it's the most efficient. That's it. It's just the most efficient, especially if you're doing it well. If you're not doing it well, then it might not be as efficient as it could be, and it might actually not work at all. In fact, I had one client that came to me and was absolutely convinced, oh no, we tried Google Ads before, they don't work for us. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You sell tools on a website. How can Google Ads not work for you? And so, with a little bit of discussion, it's like, you got to know who's doing your ads.
And
You
what
got to, yep. And there are all kinds of different strategies, all of that. And the right person is going to find the right strategy for your business with your right budget and get you results. And sure enough, Google Ads, in fact, does work for his business, and it actually works incredibly well. So, with that in mind, the faster that you can get from doing your own marketing to having help doing your marketing, the better. So shorten that time up for sure.
right?
What do you do in between that? Well, you have to carve out time.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. You have to carve out time, and that's sort of what we're talking about.
today?
So what should that time look like?
Well, wait, wait,
Uh,
wait. We have different. We have.
okay.
I'm going to drag you through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Right
we
on.
went
Go
through
for
the
it.
process and I organized it. I was like, "Ooh, this stuff is so good!" Like it was so good, and it's so. So it's your job to find the sweet spot, is what you're saying of
Yeah.
how to do your marketing, when to get it outsourced, and but we're gonna pull it back in and say we're doing our own marketing, or we're working with a marketing professional. How do they do it, right? And so that you
Yeah.
do a number of different planning phases, right? So you talked about the year plan, so go
Yeah.
through the planning stages. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I like to plan a year in advance, and I'm planning my next year round about now with most of my clients. And you can't do it too early. It might feel like it sometimes, but the way that I plan is it's a very agile type of a plan. So basically, it's based on your business goals. So, how many sales of what do you want to sell? How many sales of what do you want to sell? You got to mark that down first. That's the beginning of everything. And in order to figure out what to sell, you want to be organizing your and knowing your profit margins on everything and what your pricing is going to be in the new year, if it's going to go up or stay the same. You're going to have to make sure that you're not having troubles with your supply chain. I talked to a client yesterday about their supply chain problems and how we're going to actually create a plan around the supply chain problems by organizing others people's products. So there are lots of ways to be flexible and figure it out and get a plan, but you just need to actually have a plan, and it's agile. You want an agile plan. So
What does that mean? Agile.
and agile, it means that you need to build some kind of flexibility into it. So when I build my yearly plan, I'm not building, I'm going to send this message out on this day in August. What I'm going to do is plan for what my months look like, what my seasonal pushes look like. So generally, I follow a lot of my clients tend to be parents. I know that because I've looked at the data. So therefore, I know that they're going to go MIA in July and August, but
Okay.
they're going to want to get serious in September. So what am I going to do to be ready for them and make the sales happen for me in September? And yes, word of mouth is like gold. Yes, absolutely.
But word
And
of
then,
mouth is WOM. We call it WOM, and it is technically a form of marketing that isn't planned
yeah,
necessarily. So
yes.
I don't know where it would fit in the planning funnel so much as it's kind of at the end, because oh, I know, it's
Well,
where
planning,
loyalty is.
yeah, exactly. So what word of mouth planning looks like for me is, what am I doing for retention? How many times am I touching my customers throughout the year? How many times am I going back to check in with past customers that I've lost to other suppliers to see how happy they are? How often am I reaching out to the projects that failed to launch? For whatever reason, sometimes they don't tell me. Sometimes I think they went somewhere else and really they just never got around to getting that website done. Do you know what I mean? So that's word of mouth work in my mind. It's also about planning your conferences or your trade shows or the
Age,
things where you get out in front of people. It's
yeah,
also about planning your strategy on how to get reviews. It's also about
that's
how
funny.
is it? Yeah, I know. You know what I'm talking about, though. Who is that?
I gotta go check
I'm
because
talking to a
they're in
Facebook
the group.
user. It's killing me.
Uh,
Yeah. So those. Oh yeah. So the last ones were reviews and also customer loyalty. So I have a referral program with my clients. Anyone who refers people to me and it's successful gets a certain number of hours for free, that kind of thing, or a certain thing. I don't know. It changes every now and again.
right.
So I it was Greg. Of course it was Greg. Okay, yeah.
Cheeky.
Uh, so basically, those kinds of, all that planning goes into the yearly plan. And then your sales ebbs and flows should be in there. So if you're a retail store, the Mother's Day is the biggest a holiday apart from the festive holidays at you know in
Hmm.
December. So you want to make sure that you're planning in advance, and that's the yearly thing. I get it down on paper so I know where I'm going, a roadmap, and then I figure out, okay, if I want to make, I usually do it backwards. So I figure out, okay, how much do I want to make personally? How much do I want to make in profit? And how much is my overhead costing me, my cost of goods and all of that stuff. And then I work out what my sales goals are. And then from there, like a lot of people stop there. And that's actually quite common. A lot of people stop there. But what you need to do is work backwards and figure out, okay, what does that look like? So, how many websites is that? How many social media recurring clients does that mean I need to sell to? How many? And some things you're going to do more than others because some things are easier to sell than others. Um,
Yeah, and
some things,
make you more
yeah,
money. For us,
yes,
we one of the main things we do, and almost every person we work with gets it, which is a measure setup where we organize
right.
all the tracking, from are people clicking on phone numbers, or are they clicking filling out forms. We want to know where they're coming from and what they're doing, so we
Yeah.
can change what we're doing if we see something dramatic, right?
Yes, exactly. Agile, change what we're doing if we see something dramatic. So that's exactly what agile means. It's a plan that builds in some flexibility. It's not, oh, we're just going to throw the plan out this week, but it's going to be you're checking that same plan regularly. So that's where we go into the quarterly, the monthly, and then the weekly. And super important to be reviewing constantly. Like honestly, the first thing I do when I wake up every morning is I check my bank balances, and then I go and check my invoices, and then I check my goals to see if I'm on target.
See, and we're really different because, to be honest, like, we've been flying a little bit by the seat of our pants this year, because usually in the marketing cycle, um, in newspapers, television, online, what happens generally is it slows down in the summer,
Yeah.
and it also slows down January, slowly starts to pick up February. Well, that is no longer.
Yep.
So we've been just
Yep.
trying to keep up, and I mean, I was
Yeah.
so envious of you
Yeah.
the other day.
No, it's not. Okay, just hear me out because I don't want to make it sound like I'm perfect. I check those things, but then I go, "Oh my God, I'm so far behind on this." And then I get busy in my day. So I'm like every other person in this world,
You're blind.
honestly. Sorry?
Except you've carved out the time to
Yes.
do your marketing tasks. And I know,
Yes.
as a marketer, sometimes we get so caught up in other people's
Yep.
marketing that we don't do our own, which is doing ourselves a huge disservice, right? Not
That's
only do
true.
we know what to do,
Yes.
we just got to implement, and that's finding the time. So after your yearly plan, so you take into account sales, what you
Mhm.
want to achieve for the next year, which
Yep.
will be based on your numbers. And let me
Yep.
say that not everybody is at that place. So if you're just
Yep.
starting out, you just know you need to know sales, and maybe you don't know how much money you're making on each sale if you have staff, or maybe you're doing all the work yourself. Uh,
Yep.
so it depends. But the yearly plan. So, and then once you figure out your sales, what do you figure out then for your yearly plan?
Okay. Once I figured out my sales and I figured out my sales, um,
Goal.
um, no, what's it called? It's like the it's the ebbs and flows of your sales
Uh,
on your year. So when are you going to do the most of your sales? So basically, then I organize the actual things that I want to sell for each month, and they change depending on if people want to like when launch online came out, the first thing I did was adjust the number of website work that I'm going to do compared to other kinds of sales that I'm going to do, because I'm going to jump on that launch online campaign. It ends up being a campaign. The launch online was a marketing campaign basically for all marketers in British Columbia, because if you're giving out this much money, then what I do is I get on the phone with my clients that can utilize that and say, hey,
You
there's this grant that's come out. I can add that piece of missing part on your website or create a site from scratch. Are you interested? And that becomes part of my sales funnel.
interesting. Well, which
So
goes
then
for examples that we'll get to in a little bit, which is great.
Yeah. So for people who aren't doing marketing, who are actually selling a tangible good, for example, then what you would want to know is what are your big sales points and what are campaigns that you can hitch your ride to? Because we talked about this too. And Greg, I'm talking metaphorically. We're gonna, we hitch our rides to campaigns that exist in the world. So for example, um, you know, um, um, hitch a okay, so one example is if you're a gift store and you're not really doing very many corporate gifts, then the first thing I would do is organize yourself for corporate gifts around the holiday season, and also for people that aren't that are giving corporate gifts not during holiday seasons, like real estate agents, mortgage brokers, those kinds of people. That's a first step. Like that would be my one of my first marketing endeavors, and that would still be, it could be output as word of mouth, but it also could like be an ad campaign or some kind of it could be just a organic campaign. You could work it any way that you want, but you decide what the campaigns are going to be, what you're going to focus on, because you can't focus on everything all at once, right?
Right,
And so from knowing what and when, then you can start to get more granular in your approach. And I think what we're getting at is the first thing that I do. What I notice when I do my training with people is the people that succeed are the ones that actually take my advice, which is schedule your marketing into your week. Put it on your calendar so that your clients can't book you. Don't move it because a client wants to meet you on that day. You just don't take meetings on Monday mornings. That's all. And that's fine. It's fair to do that. A client isn't going to leave you because you can't take their sales call on Monday morning that they suggested. I'm sorry, I'm booked. I can take you on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning or any other day that week or whatever your case is, or here's my calendly book when it's
right,
convenient for you, right? I know exactly. So you have to schedule it in, because the people that fall off the marketing are the ones that decide that their client work or whatever it is that's making them busy is too busy for that. But what you don't want to do is be busy on non money productive things,
mm,
um, but all the time. You can't, you have to actually work on your business some of the time. So you need to set that time apart, because what's going to happen is either you're going to scale too fast and you don't have the systems and processes in place because you haven't taken any time to work on your business, or your sales are going to start to dry up because your leads aren't, you're losing leads because you haven't done any marketing in ages. I've seen that happen to people. They'll say, oh, I'm really busy, I can't take any more leads, I'm going to quit all my networking and stop all my ads and just get the work done. And then 3 months later, it's like there's panic because it's like, oh my goodness, I finished everything and now I've got nothing in the hopper waiting for me. So
right.
you need to figure out, and some of that is about figuring out how much to have that faucet dripping, to
Con-
so that you're not in overwhelm all the time. Because I think, Pip, what you and I've decided is that we're in overwhelm all the time because we haven't turned that faucet down at the moment, right?
it,
We've got
it
the
is
faucet on full blast.
it is hard when people want to work with you and
Yeah.
your capacity gets filled. And I mean, that's where then you start bringing in people, teaching them your systems, and then they can do that.
Yeah.
Conversation for
But
another
that's
day about how to run an
Yes,
agency.
yes, because yes, exactly. That's key, and that is the problem that always comes up, is that if you actually haven't built your systems as a solopreneur, you're not going to have any systems in place when you need that person, and then you're going to have to take extra time to train that person and create the systems all at the same time, and it's way too much. So
Right.
create your systems before you need to add people to the
And
mix.
your systems are going to change.
Yeah.
I often find we as humans want to think in static, like kind of like a web page, not like a blog, right?
Yeah.
So
Or
where
branding.
time is moving.
Once you've done it, you've done it.
Yeah. And it's really funny because one of the reasons I got into this business was because I love digital marketing. Like I love it. I think it's so fascinating. You're never bored. You Every marketer who has an agency has a specialty, whether or not they know it. They end up going into the specialty that they enjoy most. And that's why marketing is collaborative, because you have to engage with other marketers not only to learn and keep up to date, because you can't learn it all, right?
Yeah.
But I got into this, and then now I'm doing a lot of other people's marketing, and I have pulled my foot off the gas pedal a little bit. And I am I afraid of those sales not coming in? Yes, I will be. But that's because I have the scarcity mindset a little bit. But also,
Another, I think we have another member, admin person who can help out with that
right,
talk.
I truly believe though, when we make, like, because I love what I do, but one of the reasons I got into this business was because I loved to market my own business. And not being able to do that, I mean, I've actually said in the last 3 months, man, I want to quit my day job, and my boss is like terrible to me. Makes me work late nights, and like it's hard work. But if we get to do our marketing right and we actually plan, which is now is the time, right? We can do, like, how many sales do you want to make, right? Okay, so
Well,
go on.
yeah, and it's always the time. I have to say this. Every day is a new day. So
That's the marketer.
if you, yeah, if you miss planning today or this month, just do it next month. And if you miss it don't worry about it if you get to January or February and you haven't done it for the year. Just start it. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter when you start. You just got to start.
Okay, so say I haven't planned for the year and I'm gonna start. Do I start with the month or do I start with the year?
I start with the year. I like to look at the whole year and get a sense of what's going to happen when.
Okay.
And then I break it down to the quarter. I break down my goals into quarterly. Oh
That you?
no, it is. Just a second.
Ah!
I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm getting, I don't even know where it's coming from. Oh,
That's
hang on. That is definitely, oopsies. Sorry. I had everything on silent. I don't know why Facebook gets through the silence.
um,
But, anyways, um, oh yeah, so then I like to break everything down into the quarter because I feel like quarters are a nice goal mark, and also I reward myself after every quarter. So if I hit my targets for
that.
the amount of planning, the amount of sales, whatever it is, if I hit my targets, then I get a prize. I get a prize, and I'm I'm motivated like that, so it works
Very
for
good
me.
tactic. I
Yeah,
tell you, for
yeah,
sales reps, prizes
yeah.
are gold.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. You have to decide if you're a stick or a carrot person, and I've been trying desperately to train myself to be a carrot person.
What is a stick person?
Is when you get motivated because you're going to get in trouble because you haven't done
Oh,
it. Yeah, yeah,
shoot.
that's a stick person. I actually
Your
was a stick
prize
person for
wine.
20.
I think that is Greg.
Oh
Um,
no, a glass of wine is not prize enough at all. Not at all. I'm
okay, so
talking.
what would a prize be when you've done? Okay, so give us an
Okay,
example.
before COVID, if I made my sales goals, I would take a trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's got to be a decent one. It's got to at least take a long weekend.
That's
But yeah, I'd like to get back on that. I really liked taking the break for quarterly was super helpful for me. I found it really amazing. And oh, somebody's talking about forecasting.
Oh yeah, so it was in and then there's this one constant. I'm in a constant cycle of doing it next month. So
Yes.
that's a really
Oh, yes. Okay. Book it in. Just, you know what? The thing that started me on the right track was I was working with a coach that was offering quarterly planning sessions. I loved working with him actually for this because what it would make me do is get out of my office, get away from my team for a whole full day where all I did was plan. And so I don't work with that coach anymore. Um, he fired me,
oh
and yeah, that's a story for happy hour. Anyone who shows up to happy hour tomorrow, we'll get that story.
Happy hour
Um,
is on
four,
Fridays
four
at
to five
4 to 5 in the Facebook group. And
Pacific time.
there's a link to a Zoom, and it's for marketers and business owners who love marketing. That's who it's for.
Well, it's for business owners who also want to hear about marketing. They might not love it.
Right, or ask a question if you ever have a question.
Yes,
Some of
definitely.
the admin and moderators do show up, so it's a great time if, yeah, you want to, bend
Yeah.
somebody's ear. I say
Yeah.
bend ear instead of pick brain because I don't
Oh
like
yeah.
the visual. But
Oh
I
yeah, I
don't
never
mind
thought
the
of that.
bending of the ear. It can be, it's more
That's funny.
fun, right? I don't know.
Hilarious.
I got weird things.
Okay, so forecasting is one thing that I think deserves its own topic. That's really kind of
It's for drinking.
not my huge forte, and it's also oh, that must be Greg again.
It is.
Yes, you can come and drink and gossip if you like.
Oh,
Um,
it is Greg actually.
is not.
It might not be. It's funny because we used to get a link that we could share and people could put their faces on things, but I have to find the link to
Oh, I
share.
see. Yeah, it would be great if we could see who's commenting.
Wouldn't it? It'd be nice.
Yes.
Okay, forecasting. So we're forecasting. I just kind of did mine. I have a budget, like, or
Yeah.
because we do a lot of recurring
Yeah.
client work, and that's what we want to stay on top of. And so I plan it out to see how much we're bringing in, so I can
Yeah.
forecast my income, so I can forecast, you know, if I'm going to have time or if I'm going to take on people to train to do things for us for our
Yeah.
clients, right?
Yeah, that's actually yes, yes. Now I see. Yes, so that's part of my sales goals part. I guess that is forecasting. It's just I think of forecasting as something bigger that accountants do for you. I never really think of it like that. But yes, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, so yes, because you want to know when you're going to be able to make those key financial moments like hiring and training and
Making time.
expanding and all of that sort of stuff and buy new software to handle all the new
Mm.
clients, all of that sort of stuff, which I know you love to do, Pip. But okay, so once I do my quarterly, I feel like if I've worked a quarter and I've gotten my goals for the quarter, then I deserve a prize. But I still review monthly, but monthly's less review and adjusting.
So what do you do quarterly? So you've got your year plan, you've done your holidays, you've hitched
Yeah,
your heart to
yeah,
things you believe in that other people are like World Spine Day or Carf
yes,
Day, and
yeah.
now you're in the quarterly. So now I'm looking 4 months in advance, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, so this is exactly right. So I go into my monthly, my quarterly, that's when I'm sort of like figuring out which what kind of topics, what kind of things I want to sell, right? And so and how many of each, like what's appropriate for each quarter because like I said before, sometimes I want to sell more training that's going to start in September when people have time without their kids
Right.
and more training that starts in January. Same thing, and people really dig that. And I'll organize. So then, if I know I want to sell like 10 training sessions that are going to start the training in September, I'm going to start to figure out where am I going to find these clients. Basically, you can't just leave your goals there. You actually have to decide. Okay, so that's going to motivate me to figure out well this training is geared towards not for profits and solopreneurs and really small businesses, so where am I going to find them? So that means more networking groups,
Yeah.
right? That means more networking groups I'm going to visit. That means I might try and do a talk with one of the entrepreneurial spaces. I might, I'll put out my feelers and see who's doing what and who's planning what and see what happens, what I can organize for that, because you actually have to plan. Or I'll say, oh, I want 10 training people, and I'm going to actually set up a Facebook ad, a funnel, long format content to get those people into my warm them up to get them into my space so that I can see if I can get any sales calls for that. So you might need to start warming those people up maybe 3 months before you want to put that start the training. If I'm working with people that are dependent on the BC
Grant.
um, job employers grant, yeah, then there's going to have to be 3 more months in advance of that because the government takes 90 days to approve a grant. So
Mm.
that adds some more time. So I actually have to have that marked out and planned out in advance. Otherwise, I get to the point where it's like, oh, I want to start. I can take two more clients now, and the lead time to get a new client is a little bit longer.
Right. And it's really interesting. So, a couple points on that. Like, if you are, you might get teased because somebody might be like, oh, you just spend all your time on Facebook. But if you're actually in networking groups and you're not
Yes,
selling, the whole point, don't sell. You're not there to sell. What you're there to do is make connections, because then the right people, you'll be talking to
be
the.
helpful. Be
And
helpful.
the number one rule, if you take anything from this conversation, if you're just starting out or if you're in 5 years, it's just be helpful online, right? You don't sell, don't direct people to buy your stuff, because it'll naturally happen when you provide value. Yeah.
So okay, now I want to jump in because we're at 11:31 and we haven't
Yeah,
even hit
yeah.
the
We gotta
weekly stuff
go.
yet.
Got to
I
go.
know. So monthly, you're gonna actually hone down, figure out what your blog articles are that to breadcrumb to your sales that you want to make the following month. You always need to set up the educational information first so that you're circulating that, and that's what you want to circulate on social media or other places wherever. And those things of value, those blog articles, is what you want to share in the groups,
Yeah.
not the sales pitch. And then once somebody starts reading and familiarizing themselves with your approaches or your tips or your whatever, and they get some success with that or have more questions, they'll reach out to you.
Right. Imagine if somebody was ready to buy from you before they've even met you, because you're using the digital space to show up in Facebook groups, to show up online, to write, to do videos, to repurpose those videos. All of that plays into kind of your plan. Like, I've been doing these Facebook lives every Thursday at the same time for a number of years. Not only because I love it, but because it's a great even though I've slowed down kind of on a lot of my marketing, doing that one thing still keeps me present in around people I want to be around, right?
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
okay, so daily.
Daily. Okay, so I don't
Oh wait,
really do daily.
we
I do week. I do more weekly. So once a month, I figure out what my month looks like, and my 4 blog posts look like, and my 4 tech tips, because everyone who follows my page knows that I give Tech Tip Tuesdays every Tuesday, and what we do then is we figure out what kind of um, uh, themes are there. What are we going to share that might be other people's work? What do we want to say? So we figure that out, and each week we start to we have working titles by in the month planning. We take our working titles and we hone it down and organize. And we spend probably, I would say that if you're blogging once a week, which you definitely do not have to, consistent is more important than frequency. So once a month is just as good as once a week, as long as you're always doing it once a month.
and
And
it's
then
valuable
yes, and it's
your readers.
valuable. Yeah, you can't just put up anything. But then you figure out what all your topics doing, and then you should be breadcrumbing. So for 2 to 3 weeks in advance, if you have a special or promotion or something that you want to focus on service wise, you're gonna do. Oh, you found the link. Did you find the link? Because all of a sudden we have a person
That is, yes, I know. I don't
with
know.
a
I have no
name.
idea. Hi,
All
Tommy.
right, that's
Yay!
awesome.
We are talking about making a marketing plan for the year. Great question.
Yeah, how to find the time.
We're over time, so even though you're late, so are we in leaving. But so we're on weekly, and then we're gonna do daily, and then we're out of here.
Yeah. So daily is really just checking in. So weekly, you've set everything up, scheduled all up, and post. And daily, you just check in to make sure it's doing okay. Oh, right
Right?
on from Malta. Nice to see you, Tommy.
Yeah. So okay. So weekly, we're doing our titles, reworking them, making sure everything's right, and then daily we're just checking things. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're checking things. And we're moving things to Google My Business because you can't really schedule very easily on Google My Business.
Google My Business. I okay. have to say before we go, I really like to say Google my business like this. Google my business. Um,
Oh my,
just I love Google my business. It's like it's the changer for local businesses. So that being said, we are out of time, and I still want to break into song. And I sound like that cat when I
you're
sing,
gonna turn this into a musical.
right? Sometimes I think life should be a bit of a musical. Um, Rena, do you know what we're talking about next week?
I do not, but I could easily look it up.
Okay, I am trying to look it up, but the print is tiny, tiny, tiny. It is, oh my. It's Data Studio. And what makes a good report? If you don't know about Data Studio, it's Google's reporting tool. It's magnificent. Um,
Who's doing that one? It's not me, right?
Greg and Phelan, I believe,
Oh,
or Phelan and
excellent.
I. Um,
Right
you got some time. So if you want to know about that, join us next week, Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And we are live in our Facebook group where we interact all the time, which is called Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer. Um, you always put someone on the spot. Yes, I do. It gets us all excited. You're welcome. Okay, so we'll see you next week. Have a great week, rest of the week and weekend, and talk to you soon. Bye.